Hiya, hope everyone's well. I just want to do a video on puncture repair. I've been a bit quiet over winter, just other things to do. I've been out a few times though, and I thought I would just do a very quick video on some of the things I take with me to fix a puncture. Just show you here. Just do some renovation up the unit, so hence drills and things. But these to me are the three essential items. A pump. So I get that from Halfords. It's a double chamber. It will put enough pressure in, 30 psi into a tyre, pretty easily to get you to a garage to put more in, or etc. There are lots of electrical batteries that connect onto the terminals, electrical compressors that will connect to the terminals on a battery, which are great, and I have had a few over the years, and they do work. The issue obviously is you've got to get the seat off to get to the battery terminals, and then anytime you rely on electronic componentry, you're always maybe gambling down the line that it's not going to work or whatever. Equally, you can get the gas chambers, the little sort of canisters, which again have worked for me in the past, but the problem is that they are a limited supply. If you set off on a trip, you might only have 3 or 4 of them, and then if for whatever reason you get a slow puncture and you need to keep topping it up to get you somewhere, you might run out of gas canisters, then it's no good. So for me, the traditional double chamber pump, this is good as well, because you don't have to change the valve, whether you're doing it on a mountain bike or a racer bike or a motorbike. You just pop it straight on, and that will get you 30 psi in pretty good time. That's 15 quid. That's a UK place, Halfords. They sell car stuff and bike stuff, but yeah, any of these sort of double chamber pumps are good. This one's got a gauge on it, so I quite like that. But yeah, so not a lot of money, reliable, and even if you took one of these as a backup to your electric pump, that's not a bad way to go. I'll put that kit to one side a second. So I just want to talk about this stuff, which people don't generally, some people don't like, and I saw a few people discussing it on the forums that it's not work for them. Now, people have got to remember the difference between a tubeless and a tubed tyre. So I've used this now twice, once on a postie bike wheel, which has got a tube in it, and once on a CRF 300 front wheel, which has both got a tube in it. Both sort of pinprick punctures, maybe a nail or a thorn, I could never see it. But at the side of the road, I just whacked in a can of this. You screw the nozzle on, 7 quid it is, screw the nozzle on, turn the end, and it blasts the tyre, the tube, full of air and gunk. And in both cases, work to treat, and you're back on the road in a few minutes. Now, where this I can see being problematic, and where I read that it's problematic, is when you're trying to use it in a tubeless tyre, so a tyre without a tube. Maybe because the puncture is harder to seal for this sort of stuff, or I don't know, for whatever reason, people don't seem to have as much luck. And then equally, when you take the tyre in for repair, the tyre and the rim are both covered in this gunk. Whereas when you squirt it into a tube, obviously it's contained within the tube. So you can take the tube out, put a new tube in, and nobody's messed up. Nobody's upset that you're getting covered in gunk. So for a tubed tyre repair, say on an Interceptor 650 or a CRF 300 or a postie bike or a Tenere 700, this stuff for me is work both times. Now, if you get a tear in it, it's not going to work as well. It needs to find a little hole and fill it. It can't fill a tear. It can't work miracles. In which case, you're going to have to carry a tube and tyre levers and that sort of thing. For me, every time I've had a puncture, either on my bike or a customer's bike, it's always been a pinprick, a thorn, or a nail or something. So this stuff would work. It's always worth carrying. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I guess that's when you maybe want to rely on tyre levers and stuff. But for us mere mortals at the side of the road in the middle of the night, you really want to try something like this rather than getting wheels out and tyres off, etc. Now, this kit is for tubeless tyres. So if you've got like a cast aluminium rim or something like that, or one of the modern adventure bikes which have got the spokes laced to the outside, so the rim runs without a tube, then these are brilliant. And these are just a kit off eBay I buy. They're nondescript, they're non-branded, they're not branded by Oxford or anything like that, because they'd have another tenner on them. But these are simply a reamer kit. So you clean it out with that, like that. You thread one of the licorices through the eye of that, which has got a slight break in the end, which you can't see, but you put the licorice through, turn, pull it out, and that pulls the end through that, and trim it off. And I found these work really well as well. And again, this is just an eBay, £14, £15, and they've worked to treat. Where I saw somebody saying that this didn't work, they got a tyre with a tube, so ideally for this, but they'd reamed it with this, so they'd reamed the inner tube and then tried using that, which is obviously not going to work, because the idea of that is it makes the hole bigger, which on a tyre is on the actual tyre, on a tubeless tyre, is perfect. But you're never going to, this was not designed for a tubed tyre, it was designed for a tubeless tyre. And if you're travelling without a kit like this to fix a puncture at the side of the road, then you really are missing a trick. My experience of this stuff not working on a tubeless wheel was going up to Scotland. Some German travellers had come on their GSs and their Multistradas, all on tubeless wheels, and they'd only carried a can of this, and it had not worked. It had not sealed the tyre. So obviously I popped up. I was on my Himalayan, but I carried both because I was with a group. And a quick 5-minute, 10-minute job, cleaning it out, popping one of the licorices in, reinflating, and away you go. So these are 3 simple items. If you've got a tubeless wheel, that is essential. And that. If you've got a tubed tyre, then a can of that is, I think, essential, as is that. You can put slime in, and I've got some somewhere, which is a preventative. So it's a similar process, but you put it in at the front end, and then you run your tube with slime in, and then if you get a puncture, in theory, you don't even know you've got a puncture because it self-heals. That's great stuff to put in. So if you're doing a trip on a tube tyre, maybe putting some slime in, or bike seal is a more bike-specific one. You can find those online, but the slime you can get from Wilco's for £7 or whatever. And I've had success with that as well. So the main thing is differentiating between whether your bike is tubed or tubeless. Now, sometimes because tyres are increasingly generic and the tyre is designed to go on a tubeless tyre, on a tubeless rim, doesn't mean to say it's not running an inner tube. So I'm trying to think. So like on a Tenere 700, which uses an inner tube, the tyre will still say tubeless, but that's just because that's like the standard now. The standard is that they design tyres to go on a tubeless rim, I think because they have to be a stronger sidewall. But it doesn't mean to say that on some bikes that don't have a sealed rim that they don't run tubes. So just because your bike says tubeless on the side of the tyre doesn't mean to say it hasn't got a tube in it. So if I could quickly see. So, let's say the postie bike is a Tenere 700. You can see the fact that, really there's no way these nipples are going to be sealed. So you assume that's going to have a tube in it. The BMW ones that lace to the outside of the rim, or on the V-Strom, which has got a sort of a rim running around the inside which fixes the spoke to, they're both tubeless. So there are ways that companies are now running tubeless spoked wheels. Triumph, I believe, use the tubeless system, which is like a silicon seal over the top of the spoke heads, which seals it that way. But yeah, it's an important thing to know. So something like the GS310, obviously, that is tubeless because it's a cast aluminium rim and there's no tube in that. So if you were to get a puncture on that, you would use that reaming kit just to clean it out, pop in a worm, pull it out, and away you go. So I hope that kind of makes some sense. Again, sorry about the mess, I'm just doing some woodwork. So these are the 3 essential kits for me. A Halfords Pump, a cheap Chinese tubeless repair kit, which you can get, it's just a generic product that's sold by various retailers. And to be honest, this is the best one I've found. It's got loads of worms in it. The tools are really well made, and it's done the job for me on multiple occasions. And then the Halfords tyre weld, puncture repair, which, again, for me, has worked. The internet says it doesn't always work, but my experience says, so far, every time it has worked. So that's it. Hope it was of some use. Let me know what you use or what advice you've got for other people. Cheers. Bye.